we you mentioned about the positive aspect of the ego. Let's talk a little bit about that. In what ways do you think that the ego protects us?
Okay, so the positive aspect, my perspective of the positive aspect of the self is simply wanting to achieve a higher state of being is an aspect of the ego. Remember, the ego is perception of self, how I perceive myself. I perceive myself as someone that is or values being at a more highest state in terms of morals, in terms of values, and so on. And but that is part of the ego. That is there is no perception of self without the ego. So you can't say so even the monks or even the yogis that say I have lost myself completely. From the moment you say you refer to the ego. I have lost whatever. There is no ego without the I. There is no I without the ego.
Correct.
But it's just that there is duality that exists within it.
Yes.
So the positive aspects of the self is wanting to be a better version of yourself. Sorry, the positive aspect of the ego is wanting to be or identifying with a more higher positive aspect of self. Another example would be setting healthy boundaries. And while it might seem like, oh, you can't talk to me anyhow, or you respect yourself enough that he knows where to live.
Yes.
He knows that if I encourage people to talk to me anyhow, people start perceiving me as somebody that you could do and treat anyhow. So he understands the importance of it and he wants the for himself. It's a positive aspect of self. It could be perceived as whatever, but provided that it is not in conflict with you being the highest version of yourself, I perceive it as the positive aspect of you. Now, the negative aspect of ego would be you wanting to be, let's say you wanted to be a better version of yourself, but I don't mind if I got for rob, I don't mind if I got for cheat, steal, whatever. That is not in alignment because these things got consequences. You don't just rob somebody and the person not one waiting for a chance to get even or one spend their entire life wishing that something bad befall you.
Yeah.
So you don't get away from the consequences of these. And if you act in a way that brings negative consequences upon yourself, then it is the negative aspect of the ego because it is in conflict or it contradicts with you achieving the higher aspects.
Yeah, I like when you said the yogis and so on, and they say I don't have any. They like denounce the ego. I don't have an ego. In Buddhism, they practice the no desires. They believe that pain and suffering, all pain and suffering comes from desires. So they denounce desires. So even the act in my mind, I was listening to Alan Watts talk about this, and he was like, even I don't want to misquote him, but from what I understood, even the desire, even the fact of wanting no desire is a desire itself.
You can't escape. You
cannot escape. You cannot escape from it.
It's like disinheriting and denouncing your body.
Yeah.
So I denounce my body. My body requires food. My body requires energy. It requires these things.
Yeah.
And that is a fact of reality. I can't live in a world that is not reality. So instead of denying it or being in opposition with it, the smartest way is to incorporate in it, but understanding that it's good until it goes past certain boundaries.
I love that. On a personal level as well, like what practices or tools that you utilize to quiet the ego? You have so much knowledge about it. So like, what do you do? Because I'm sure you weren't this guy that I'm talking to all your life, you know? So what do you do? And I like that you mentioned your higher self, because this is something that I connect with as well, that I understand fully. And like what tools do you use? The question is, what tools do you use to quiet the ego and connect more to your higher self? I know meditation is one of them, but go ahead.
Okay, so a practical example. So identify and isolate the negative aspects of the ego would be, okay, so take a moment and think of yourself from the perspective of how I want to be seen. Right? So everything that am right now is a result of how I want to be seen. And then now understand that is part of self, and then switch to another perspective of how I feel with the absence of how I want to be seen. So this feeling is focus. This is a focus based, feeling based exercise that requires you to, for a moment, ignore how I'm being perceived and just feel how I am.
Yeah, very important.
What I feel like, how I feel right now. How am I acting because I'm being perceived? How am I showing up? If there was no one to perceive me, how would I show up? How would I?
Oh wow!
How would I
repeat that question again. If there was no one, I go back to the question.
Yeah, if there was no one to perceive me, how would I show up? If I was existing in this world alone, how would I show up?
That's a powerful question.
That brings you closer to the I guess the grounded part of self. It kind of isolates the things that are a result of how you're being perceived and so on. It kind of isolates a lot of the frills that we tend to fetch around as weight that we don't necessarily need to fetch around.
Yeah.
And you can wear it as a jacket, you can wear it as an outfit when you going out, but remembering to stay grounded in the self that is apart from how I would be if there was no one to perceive me.
Wow.
And try to align it as close as you possibly could with how you want to be perceived. So after you isolate the two, the job is to make them as close as possible to each other.
Yeah.
So how I wish to be perceived and how I would show up needs to come at least this close to each other. So it's just basically the same thing. So everything that I am putting on only because I'm perceived, I need to examine that and see why I could tone down, why I could find more authenticity in, and the part of myself that I would do the type of things when no one is around. If I wouldn't do it when I'm being observed, then I should examine why is it that I do it when no one is. Why is it that I do it when no one is observing me? And try to bring the two of them as close as possible to each other.
Oh wow. I'm thinking, as you were talking, I'm thinking about my own personal life. Like, if no one is watching me, or there, no one will if it was a judgment-free place, like, what would I do? And I'm thinking about all unlimited things.
I think social judgment keeps us in check.
Yeah.
I think it keeps us in check. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but we don't want to be the complete opposite of how we are in public when we're private, because we risk fractionating ourselves.
Yeah.
Fragmenting ourselves.
Yeah. I fully get that. And one of the things that I would do is journal. Like, if I feel like a lot of emotions flooding, well, now I don't know what could really flood. Like, to tell you the truth, I just stay in the moment as much as I can. When I drift away, I just come back to this beautiful moment right here, right now. What is happening now? What is happening now? Like, every time I feel anxiety, like, what is happening now? But sometimes, because of the human experience that we're having and our physical nature, things come flooding where you don't get that processing capacity to just bring you back as to groundedness as fast as you would like to, right? So when that happens and it's like really overwhelming and I would say I'm overstimulated, I go and journal. Like I just write, and that kind of suits me. How is that? Why do you think that happens?
I would guess that you have one of them overactive mentals, I would say. And I understand it because I have it too. There's a lot of rumination, there's a lot of introspection, there's a lot of, oh, I wonder what this thing I wonder. So that is essentially a default setting.
Mm.
So while meditative practices like mindfulness or grounding yourself in the now can strengthen your ability to resist the default setting, you're still fighting against essentially your biology.
Mm-hmm. And life
So,
too, because these are real things.
yeah, yeah. I found the most, while I understand the importance of meditation and the role that meditation plays in this, with this, I tend to just lean into the chaos. I tend to just allow it to wash in and organize the chaos, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you return to the place, it's like the house. Whenever you return there, and it's everything is organized, you understand. Oh, this is what I think about this. This is what I feel about this. This is how I see this. This is how I. So whenever whenever everything starts to wash in, you
Mm-hmm.
already have models and understanding of each of them. So I guess it don't hit me as hard anymore. But there
Yes.
was a point where it was too much. Sometimes devices, sometimes the million and one different things you're processing. Now I relish the opportunity.
Mm. I really like that, to tell you the truth. I really, 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 really like that. Because sometimes the mind, and even in stillness, meditation, ground and mindfulness, and all these things, even even in doing that, the mind does what it has to do, and these are just techniques that we use. The mind is not a superpower. And to me, I used to feel like because I have overactive minds, I keep going and going. I could go for hours, and I felt as if, meditation was not for me. Like I can't meditate. I have clients who,
It's
yeah,
not for everyone.
I have clients who said to me, I cannot meditate. But on that note, based on your practice and what you know, when somebody say they can't meditate, because I have a definition for meditation that I don't know how much is going to agree with it, but they feel like if it's something to do, like it's an act. It's just being there. Like I just feel it's just being. Like once you're able to just be and like know and focus on what is happening, focusing on your thoughts and just see what is coming up. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to cancel the thought. Why did we came up with the analogy that we have to stop thought, and meditation is for that purpose?
I think it's one of the reasons why the perspective of canceling thoughts exists in relation to meditation is because meditation has the potential to offer rest from overactive minds, rest from overthinking, rest from psychological hurt, pain, whatever. Meditation has the potential to offer rest from it.
Correct.
But not everyone is capable of accessing the states in which you can find rest. And for those persons, it is enough to direct your thoughts on something that is pleasant. And this is why guided meditation has been so successful with a lot of my clients because it's an opportunity to choose what your mind focus on, and that is meditation. In the
Correct.
not having to deal with the thoughts that you're currently trying to avoid means that you're meditating on a particular set of thoughts. And there's rest to be found in that. Rest from the weight of what it
Yes.
is that you don't want to experience. So I understand why most persons say you have to cancel, because there is a possibility to have complete bliss in meditation if you're capable of just quieting your thoughts and canceling them out. But not every person can do that. Not every person has the patience or the fortitude to achieve those states.
Yeah.
But this doesn't mean that they do not get to enjoy the benefits of meditation. There is the way of focusing or choosing where you focus your thoughts on.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that because initially guided meditation is where I started to help me to sleep, to help me with anxiety, to help me with stress. So I like when you said that you use guided meditation to help your clients, because that is where I started. And now I can just sit and do it, and wait and come out of it feeling wonderful. But it wasn't an easy thing. Just like you said, it took patience. It took some consistency and dedication and believing that there is value in this practice. I want to switch it up a little bit and talk about relationships. So how does the ego show up in a relationship, and how can we manage it with love? We always want to ensure that the ego is going to come up, because like only last week I was talking about I versus you, right? Perspective when a situation comes up where persons are not agreeing on a particular thing, so how do you deal with that and manage it with love, because that's the ultimate goal.
Okay, so to answer this question, it's hard to generalize on this question, basically because typical relationships involve a male and a female, and the way a female deals with this and the way a male deals with this are completely opposite. So, well, there are things in common, but it's essentially two different approaches. So if I just generalize, I risk giving your male viewers conflicting information. So let me preface it by saying that the ego shows up in relationship in men and women, but differently. And the conflicts that shows up, the ego-based conflicts that shows up in relationships are often tied to traumas. So, for example, let's use the male experience, for example. So, the way an ego would show up in a relationship context, or one of the ways, could be the male feeling undervalued, disrespected, and so on. Then the instinctual reaction to that is to impose or enforce dominance. I feel like you don't respect me. No, we got problem. I got for tough. Instead, it's actually counterintuitive to think that the approach to that would be introspection. Understand why is it I'm feeling disrespected. And this is not to say that the feeling of being disrespected is invalid, because it's quite possible that you are in a relationship where you're being disrespected. But first, pinpointing why is it that I'm feeling disrespected, then understanding that, all right, there's a possibility that it might not have been an intentional act. So we have to determine if it's an intentional act or not. If it is an intentional act, if it's not an intentional act, we have the conversation. But if it's an intentional act, then we have the conversation and we try to figure out, or at least help your partner figure out why is it that you believe that this is a way of dealing with your partner if you want to be protected, if you want
I see.
having the conversation.
Yeah.
And only then can you go in the direction of a true resolution. Because it's quite possible that the reason she disrespected you is also rooted in her ego and her trauma, and a trauma that is one where she never had a valid representation of what a male is. So she gravitated more to the masculine now. She is very critical of masculine. And only in the presence of a healthy example of a masculine would she be able to rewrite the program.
Yeah.
So the response you want to a situation like that is showing her what the healthy masculine looks like. So now she has a new model and understand if this is my goal. If I want a relationship where I'm provided for and protected and loved, then this is not the way of executing or showing up. And then she now has the opportunity to look at her unconscious traumas as why is it that I show up like this? So both persons get closer to the unified goal that they have in mind. If the goal is to be in a healthy relationship or healthy relationship dynamic.
Wow,
those are just two examples of how it shows up for the male and the female. And how it might be rooted in trauma.
Yeah. And as you were talking, it reminds me of the series that I covered on attachment theory. And it goes back to programming. So we see people and how they show up and we're like, damn, something must be wrong with you. It's just earlier, childhood stuff that they're not capable, or sometimes people are aware and they choose not to look at that, and it seeps over into relationship. Yeah. And I have a question. Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
No, I was just saying that doing the work I was agreeing with you saying that doing the work is a lot of work. So
yeah, it's a lot of work, and the work continues. Even there's no place you can reach. There's not attainment of anything. You just have to continue to do the work. I remember times when I was like, I think I have the verbiage for it now. Spiritual ego. When I feel like, I know this and I understand that.
It's funny how the universe, God, whoever it is you subscribe to tends to slap you in your face. Not long after you find yourself in the position feeling like, oh yeah, I got this.
Yeah, it's like, shit, what? You mean I still got work to do? Well, yes, I've really been there. What is the first step someone can take if they realize that the ego is running their show? What is the first thing that they can do?
I think the first step is being clear about your direction. Identifying the direction. If you haven't previously identified the direction, identify the direction that you want your life to go in. And then get real detail. All right, if I want to be this person, or if I want to be here, what are the characteristics of this person? A person that is, let's say I want to be a millionaire with how much planes or whatever, then this person does not have a issue with discipline because it would require, and this is just on the physical. It would require discipline to have this. So I know I have to foster my discipline. This person here does not get in the feelings too easy. So I have to rectify the processes through which I feel my emotions, understand them.
Yeah.
Identifying the direction, then being clear about what the type of person that's capable of attaining this is like. Then you have a clear model of things to do and not to do. So whenever you act in a way that is in conflict with the type of person that you have to be,
yes,
then you can identify it and make the necessary adjustments.
I really like that. I really, really like that. How has your personal relationship with the ego changed over time?
I was probably one of the most egotistic, conventional persons that I've ever met. With a very subtle overglaze of humility. But I think a lot of the humility that I expressed was a result of fear and self-doubt. So I not push too hard because I don't necessarily want to push back. But I'm playing a covert game.
Yeah.
And the more I guess, refined and developed a more meaningful relationship with the idea of self and ego-related concepts, the more I think true confidence has replaced that. And for me, true confidence is not rooted much in the how I wish to be perceived, as opposed to what I am capable of. So, and even in this regard, I'm still nowhere close to where I need to be, or the benchmark that I've set for myself.
Yes.
But I've been able to see the growth and the progression in the direction.
Yeah.
So there's a level of confidence that comes with that is rooted in something more substantial, and there's a less needed to put it on display or so on.
I really, really like that. I really, really like that. And I like when you said, you the ideal person that you see yourself as, you're still getting there. And I want people to be patient with themselves. Reflect back, just like you said, reflect back on where you were. Regardless of how small that progress is, it's important to acknowledge it and keep going. Many times I fall back. It's like I thought that I escaped this particular loop, or I've outgrown a particular behavior, and all it took was the right circumstance to show me that nope, there's still more. There's still more work to do. And it's like, oh man. And I was like, you know what? Just embrace it, accept it all. I'm just gonna continue. So what's one message you would like to leave with the persons that are listening today as it relates to working with their ego?
I think the most important step you could take in establishing a healthy relationship is taking a deep dive into self. And this means laying all your cards on the table and understanding what exactly are your motivations. And I'm not talking about all the motivations that I justify to myself. A practice that I have to do this is ask, but why is it that you feel so? Something that psychologists ask a lot. But why is it that you so hard? I am having a reaction to this person saying something. Yeah, but why is it that you're having a reaction? Because I feel offended. Yeah, but why is it that you feel offended? What do you think about yourself that has caused you to feel offended? And you'll come closer to the truth. But this does not mean that when you ask why and you get the answer, it means that, I should just accept the disrespect.
Yes.
Being honest with yourself also includes saying, all right, I feel disrespected because this person did this or this person, and that's not the way I would treat this person or want to be treated. So now I have to decide what is the next move. Do I remove myself from the situation? Do I confront the person? Have not confront in the sense of confrontation, but have a respectful conversation. This is how I felt because whatever was not, and leave it to the person to make the necessary adjustments. Then you can justify removing yourself from the situation. And in the situations where you can't remove yourself from the situation, and the person does not choose to make the necessary adjustments, then understanding that self is capable of being so strong that your actions no longer affect me. And it's not because it's just because I understand that I am so strong, becoming so strong, becoming so sure in self that my only reaction to your actions is I sorry that there's way you there with your life. I pity that you're still strong or you think that this is something nice to do to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. I fully get that, Michael. It was such a pleasure having you. I'm sure this is not the first time we're going to be doing something like this, but I really appreciate I really enjoyed this chat, this conversation. I didn't hear you. Go ahead.
I was going to say here, the feel is mutual. I
Yes.
really appreciate what you're doing. I could see the vision and I'm proud of you for making the step. It's inspiring, to say the least, and I think the new society especially needs a touch of this.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work.
Yeah, and I feel like we're on on a similar journey. We're doing the same thing. We understand the landscape. We understand the perspective of people. We understand the struggle because we didn't just, wake up and decided to. It was hard. It was challenging. It was a struggle from, I wouldn't like me back then. I would not have liked her. So, I'm really thankful that you took the time for us to have this type of conversation so that others can benefit from, not just now, but years. Maybe our grandchildren will look at this and, they would see where we come from. They might be like, what was that poor quality video and camera and all these things criticizing us, What is that they're using? That's awful. But it's just a foundation that we're setting on the journey of transforming lives. But I feel like anybody that listen to this podcast may want to reach out to you in some way, shape, or form. I just want you to just give them a little heads up as to how they can get in contact with you if they need hypnotherapy, if they need counseling, like whatever it is, art, whatever it may be. Just how can they reach you?
I'm on Facebook, Michael Griffith. My business page is Oxygen Art, and on TikTok.
You sound like Glenn Lal.
Yeah, I don't want name drop, but TikTok.
Yeah.
My number is 691-5356. You can reach me on WhatsApp as well. So.
Yeah, definitely. I also have the link in the description as well. Guys, thanks again, and thank you for tuning in to the Enlightened Path. Thank you for staying true to the end. Next week we're gonna have another amazing topic. Until then, take care of yourself, and Michael, thank you for being here.
It was a pleasure.